Hey guys, Stealth here, and welcome back to Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. Today we're up for a good old Battleship Brawl. Unfortunately, I don't have a name for the scenario author, because no name was submitted. The story is as follows. The Axis powers have survived the D-Day invasions, and Japan has recovered from the island-hopping campaign of America. As you can tell, this is an alternate World War II scenario. Italy, however, has crumbled. With the Allies essentially defeated, save for a few pockets of resistance, Germany and Japan emerge as the two world superpowers, each believing themselves to be the only rightful ruler of the world, and neither will settle for anything less. However, with the world in ruins after World War II, neither really wants a full-scale war. Proposed is a contest. Each country pits a fleet of 5 battleships and 10 destroyers against each other in a brawl. The victor will rule. You may play as Japan or Germany, whichever you prefer, and design a battleship that packs as much firepower and armor as possible. Good luck. Now, the starting range is 5,000 meters. This is a brawl, and that means that there's really no armor in the world that can hope to survive unless I go for something along the lengths of 25 to 30 inches of belt armor, which would mean that the armament of the ships has to be pretty damn poor. So there's really 2 ways that I can go about this. I can go with a lot of firepower and maybe a whole host of torpedoes, or I can try to make these things as tanky as possible. I think that the key will lie in taking out the destroyers as quickly as possible. 10 destroyers, let's say they have a minimum of 5 torpedo tubes per. That's 50 torpedoes that get launched at my fleet. That's a lot to dodge. So at the very least, I'll have to try and get the destroyers out of the way quickly. And probably put a hell of a torpedo belt on these battleships. Alright, let's get to designing. Right, the super battleship for the Japanese. It is going to be Mikaho, 125,000 tons. Armor belt, yes. Anti-torp, yes, all of it. Citadel. In this case, I think with 5,000 meter starting range, a turtleback armor scheme would be more efficient than having a Citadel with all or nothing the armor scheme. This is more useful against plunging fire, but at 5,000 meter range, plunging fire is not really that much of a threat. Let's go for Aux 4, allowing for faster water pumping. Reinforced bulkheads, maximum bulkheads. Range is not important. I'm thinking of going with super slow ships. 15 knots slow, and hopefully that's going to allow me to turn the ships a little faster. At this minimum speed, I currently have a turning circle of 669 meters. If I were to go for, let's say, a speed of 27.5, that blossoms to 1,226 meters. I can still boost this a bit by having the engine shaft, and that lowers it to 548. Of course, there still has to be about 50,000 tons added to this ship. So the chances of actually staying with that 548 is just about 0. Now, for main tower, I'm going to go with the Modern Tower 2. I'm not trying to build anything historical. I just want to try and get as many secondary guns on as many emplacements as possible to allow for very rapid demolition of the enemy destroyers. I don't believe you can put 8-inch guns on there, right? No, but I can put those on the deck. What is the biggest you can fit on those turrets? 6-inch? 7? No, 6. Okay, 6-inch triple barrel. Although, you know, against the DDs, I might need something smaller. Sure, if these things hit, they might blow a DD out of the water in about 1 or 2 shots. But they reload in 10 seconds. How about going for something like 3-inch? Because we're starting at 5,000 meter range. 3-inch, 4-inch, half the range that I require, but they reload in half the time. The damage is 318, as opposed to 1,588. But if I miss here, I have to wait 15 seconds. Oh, sorry, not 15. The damage is 1112 versus the 318. But if I miss with this thing, I can try again in 4.5 seconds. And hopefully I can just flood out enemy destroyers really quickly. So 3-inch it's going to be. And let's put those things on as many positions as I can. Oh, you're overlapping. Hold on, do I need to swap you to 2-inch? Or dual? No? Curious. They all have the same turret dimensions. Got it. 2-inch triples. That works. There's another... Oh, hold on. Why did you not actually bring your counterpart? Look at that. You can have one on one side, but not the other. So I guess this too is a seat for a double-inch or a 2-inch gun. Right, funnel up next. That one doesn't fit. Not that I need that much funnel power, because my speed at 15 knots is really not important. I want an improved rangefinder, and I want to use a coincidence rangefinder to make sure that I target stuff quickly. Gun aiming speed has to be good. Long range accuracy is really not that important. Gun aiming speed of 35% really helps. Let's go with heavy shells and high TNT for the propellant. Autoloaders check, electro-hydraulic turrets, all the barbette armor. And as for propulsion, I'd say geared steam turbines as always. Yeah, diesels are just a bit more pricey. Well, no, sorry, they're not pricey. They're quite a bit cheaper, in fact, but displacement-wise, I'm sacrificing 500 tons. Which in a brawl like this, I probably cannot afford. Now, how is engine efficiency? 86. I'll take that. And do I need semi-oil? Yeah, oops. Oil to semi-oil, or rather semi-oil to oil, gives me about 1100 tons. That's quite nice. Okay, so that is at least the secondary armament complete. Now I need to start working on the main armament, because there are 5 battleships and they need to be sunk. Now I'm thinking of sticking with Japan's, let's say more, well maybe more standard, but more regular 18-inch triples. They have a good mix between the massive firepower of the 20s and a decent amount of damage output that the 18s can do with a decent reload, 52.3 seconds. The real question is, how long can I expect these battleships to survive? I'm afraid it won't be terribly long, because they'll either get torpedoed or they have a very high chance to just get citadeled, either in the form of getting its ammo detonated or in the form of just having a flash fire. Either would be pretty bad news. Now, do I have access to the... Yeah, to those. That's not really what I was hoping for. I was hoping for access to the short barbettes for secondary, so I could build another large turret emplacement over there. Because I want more 4-inch guns. Point at the enemy. That's going to save me some rotation later. Death to the destroyers. Death to all the destroyers, in fact. Okay. That puts me in a pretty decent spot when it comes to secondary broadside. I want these things lined up with the rest, by the way. Same goes for you. Sit over there. Over here. And... oh. Now I'm running into the turret for limitations. Alright, so be it. Everybody pointing out? Nope. You're not. Now, how many guns does that give me? For broadsides? I'm looking at 24 triple 4-inch guns. So that's 12 per side, that's 36 barrels. And that is just counting the 4-inch guns. Then I have another 63-inch guns and 24 2-inch guns. So I'm expecting the destroyers to just melt the moment that they encounter this ship. And they will encounter it at short range, which for the destroyers is pretty bad news. Now, let's say that the enemy ships have 20-inch guns, which is the worst that I can face. And they have a range of 5,000 meters, which means I would need an armor equivalent of 60 inches of armor. That's a lot of armor. I have an armor quality of 110%. So I would need an armor belt of 30-inch, which I can fit on this ship. It's just that I can only fit that on the belt, but if I put it on the belt extended, I'm 8,000 tons over budget. Now that's the worst case scenario. If the scenario is a little bit less terrible and they went with 18s, then at 5,000 meter range I would I would need an armor belt equivalent of 51 inch. So let's say 25 inch belt armor, 25 inch belt extended, and we're still a little over. So we're going to go for 15 inch belt and then put 25 inches on the turret. I really don't want those things to get penned. The secondaries I don't really care too much about because I feel that I have that many that if 1 or 2 die, then there are plenty more to go around. The conning tower, let's go with 20 inch. Deck and deck extended, not important because there will be no plunging fire for this particular scenario. Secondaries, I can give them 20 inch, but really these are only useful against destroyers. At 5,000 meter range, they'll pen 6.6 inches of armor. I wouldn't even know where you would pen a battleship with that much. This does make me a bit curious. What happens if I put 8 inch on a ship? It could pen 17 inches of armor. That's pretty nice. But they weigh quite a lot. They're 1,194 tons, these 8 inch guns. That makes them less useful. Because sure enough, they will be doing damage to the battleship, but an 18 inch gun usually does a lot more damage to a battleship. Torpedoes are another option that I have. In this case, I'm going to go for 24 to pack the maximum punch. And I'm going to put a quintuple here. And I'll put another quintuple... Well, not there, ideally. Let's just make them underwater torpedo tubes. Maybe the underwater torpedo tubes are safer in general. One on the bow, you know, right there. Almost inside the building. And one over there. No, it's too heavy. Ah, crap. 24 inch on the turret. There we go. Maybe I can go 24.5. That's better. 21 inch on the conning tower. No, 23. Torpedo type. Let's go for fast runners. These torpedoes will now travel at, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, 63.5, and they will do 10,924 points of damage, minus torpedo blister, minus armor scheme. So sure enough, they will do damage, but the question remains how much. Hydro is too heavy. In that case, maybe a bit more belt armor. Nah, 15.2. So be it, 15.2. Okay, this is going to kick off right when I hit the battle button. So this might be the last good look you'll ever get to take at the Mikaho class battleship brawler. Oh crap. They went with small ships, didn't they? Holy shit. If you select 5,000 meters, what happens is that some ships, like this destroyer from the Germans, spawn at 700 meter range from one of my battleships. Now, while that's amusing, I think that the enemy battleships are small guys. Here. Pfft. That's Germany's best, huh? Really? No, I'm going to restart this battle. I just want to see how quickly I can melt a destroyer here. Whoa, you're firing 18... Okay, you're firing 18 inch at a destroyer. Yeah, that works. These things lob torpedoes at me. Just look at this thing. Immediate ammo detonation. Caused by 4 inch. And she sinks. How much damage will those torpedoes do? Oof. That was about 22% of damage. But look at how quickly these guys are all getting torpedoed. This is the problem with starting at this short range. Anyway, I don't want to do this. I want to rebuild the ship. And then launch it again, so I get a better opponent. Come on, Germany. Stop sending me dreadnoughts. You have the exact same technology I have. My tech is 1940 and so is yours. Where is the H class? Do better. Now we're getting somewhere. That looks like a much more respectable battleship. There we are. Third time's the charm, and Germany is now going to come at me with, what is that? 20 barrels per ship? Good lord, okay. That's a lot of firepower. I doubt that they're 20-inch, because they seem too small for that. But that means that they have 100 barrels firing at me. Versus my 15 per ship, times 5. I have a bit of a problem here. Well, potentially. It will depend on how much damage I can do. The destroyers and the battleships are mingled. Of course, that goes for them too. This is... Why the fuck is the Mutsu trying to follow the Mikaho? Don't do that. I want you to turn over there. I want you to turn over there. And we're each going to select a separate target for the ships. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so all the battleships have been spotted. I want you to target that one. And your secondaries on that destroyer. Mikaho is going to target that one. Secondaries on that destroyer. Then we got Fuso. Fuso is going to target that one. Mikasa. That one. And Soho. That one. If I did it correctly, every single battleship has a separate target now. Then, my destroyers. I don't really care which ship they target, because there are probably... Well, there's always going to be a target in the way somewhere. Torpedoes are 20-inch, 14.7 click runners. Okay, target that battleship. Just go aggressive on the torpedoes and smoke up as quickly as you can. The DD over here. And have you detach and turn. Because as it stands right now, you're only going to go and tuck yourself in behind the Shoho. Which is really not that useful, as it doesn't allow you to launch your torpedoes. The destroyers here. Turn to starboard. We got another lonely destroyer here. Okay, here goes. Here we go. Mikaho engaging the destroyer. Look at all those secondaries. Look at all that. Old one. Already a shell bouncing off here. Right here. Lovely. It's almost like one of those older galleons with tons and tons and tons of guns on them. Engine damage on one of the DDs. I will start taking torpedoes, which is why I'm trying to have these battleships turn away as quickly as possible. Because this is a battle of attrition. Oh, that looked like it hurt. Wait. Wait, what? This guy torpedoed himself. Warship, torpedo hits warship. How did you manage that? You do have a lot of torpedoes on these ships. Maybe the four-launcher fired and then hit the own ship? I don't know how the Germans pulled that one off. At least first blood goes to the Japanese, as I immediately managed to land one destroyer towards, well, land. I think the destroyer sort of killed itself. These guys carry 15-inch guns, which, as you can see, if you have enough of them, they are pretty deadly. It looks like the second destroyer is dead. Another destroyer seemingly took... I don't know. There's too much happening right now. We're getting some damage in. Another DD sinks. Fire and flooding on one of the lead German warships. Fuso, Mikasa, and Shoho traveling at a mere 12 knots. One of the destroyers is having a pretty rough time. Minimum bulkheads? Oh, come on. You're asking for it, then. These DDs have the right idea. They have been starting their torp runs on, well, whatever is already sinking. But at least these torps will run pretty long. And hopefully by the time that they pass these shipwrecks, the ships will already be gone. That's another ship that sunk. How did they die this quickly? I can't identify them. Overpen. It's like they're getting their ammo detonated, but I'm not even seeing that. I think extensive fire. Because it still has structural and it still has buoyancy. So the only thing that I can come up with is that we're doing so much damage. So many shells are impacting these ships that they're immediately on fire everywhere, every single compartment. In which case the game immediately goes, you're dead. It just immediately kills off the ship. Now, how are my battleships doing? Pretty healthy. Another destroyer bites the dust. Unfortunately, this is when Mikaho is going to start taking some torpedoes. I don't know what size yet, but it's probably not going to be pleasant. The interesting thing is, I have done 7.4k versus a little under 1k. These are small torps. One of the German battleships is flooding. Structural integrity is a little bit worse for wear, but definitely still fight-worthy. Okay, the Mikaho is flooding from pretty much bow to stern. It looks like the only part that's not completely flooded is the bow. I hope that those sailors are properly motivated to start getting rid of that water, and quickly. Flash fire on one of their destroyers. I now have ID on the destroyers. Many bulkheads, torpedoes of 21 inch. Not so small after all. And they carry a few of them. Quite a few of those launchers. What's that, 3 4s? Oof, that's 12 torpedoes per destroyer. That's pretty impressive relative to my my ships, which only have 20 inch, and they don't fire nearly as many. Fortunately, there we go, extensive fire. Fortunately, my battleships are pretty capable of dealing with these destroyers. Oh, Mikasa just took a hit. Akazuki group. Turn that way. It looks like the only battleship that has taken really serious damage is Mikaho. Unfortunately, I immediately started the turn, which means that Mutsu really negated, if not completely avoided, most of the torpedo salvo that came her way. Mikaho. Structural integrity is not great at 36%, but her buoyancy is fantastic. Considering how many torps hit this ship, she really is holding her own. She's not even flooding anymore. That's really impressive. The German battleship is flooding. Ah, we got ID on them. This is the Kronprinz. They carry their own torpedo launchers, 22 inch. They have these 15-inch guns, which fire TNT propellant, maximum bulkheads, lots of 8-inch guns to make sure that nothing gets too close if it's anything smaller than a cruiser. Or, well, cruisers too would probably be pretty worried about this. And a whole bunch of 3-inch, but not nearly as many as my battleships have. Not nearly as many. What's your torpedo blister like? Interesting. 3. Okay. They go up to 5. So the torpedo blister is not terrible. They're about average. Which really makes me curious as to how much damage my torpedoes can actually do. And whether these ships are still capable of getting out of the way. What did my turning circle end up being? 526. Okay. I thought it was going to get a lot worse than that. Oh. Kaya, I'm going to have to detach you. Because this looks like trouble to you. Akazuki launched her set. They have a range of 14, which puts these battleships still in range, but I'm not sure if they're still going to be in range by the time that the torps get there. Because they're slowly heading away from me. Mikaho structural is down to 33%. The other battleships are perfectly fine. The German battleships actually have a little bit more displacement at 126,600. Another DD is getting murdered. Whoa, Fuso. Why are you using your mains against a destroyer? Don't you think that's a little much? Sure, I mean it'll kill them. There we go. That'll kill them. But it's just a bit of overkill. On the other hand, maybe the destroyers are more dangerous than the battleships. So let's now have the battleships focus down some of their battleships, starting with the Kronprinz. And let's see if those torpedoes are still any good. No. Maybe the Baden if she turns poorly. But I kind of doubt it. Damage done, 12k. Damage taken, 2.1. Alright. I'll take it. Standard complement of ammo for the torpedoes. New target, Westfalen for Kuwa. Hinoki, target Westfalen. Fubuki, smoke up, also target Westfalen with the torpedoes. Range 8-3. I'm traveling at 36, they're traveling at 26. Holy shit, they got a lot of turret armor. 24.6. Okay, there comes a large salvo at the Kronprinz. Flooding. Fire. But they have maximum bulkheads. Anti-torp 3 was it, but anti-flood only 1. I think Mikaho is not going to survive for too much longer. Kiyonami launched her torpedoes. That's good. Akazuki's reloading her torpedoes. Look at these salvos coming out of these ships. That's 15 18-inch shells per. Looks, however, like Fuso is going to take 1 or more hits. Probably 3 to 4. And I don't really think my chances of dodging that is going to be very good. Kronprinz down to 69% structural integrity. These things can take a beating. What's my chance to pen? 55% only. Okay. I was hoping for a bit better. Yep, that's 3 torps hit. 4. 5. I'm happy about the amount of structural integrity that these ships hold after getting torpedoed. Because it could have been a lot worse. Now, I don't think that my battleships are launching their torpedoes yet. No, they still have a full complement. Oh, they're also out of torpedo range. Right. Kronprinz now getting hit by a lot of shells. Structural integrity at 28%. And her situation is about to be made worse as the torpedoes are about to arrive. More floodings. But this ship has still maintained 100% buoyancy throughout that entire punishment that she got. This, though, is going to not aid her chances of survival. 7% structural remains. There she goes. That's 1 battleship done. Alright, Division 2. Focus fire. New target. Württemberg. In the meanwhile, the battleships have interestingly switched their fire to the Akazuki. Or at least part of it. No, actually all of it. Including the 15-inch guns. I'm sorry, but your target prioritization is a little off, I'd say. How's my... Oh, we're about to have a collision of two 125,000 ton battleships. So be it. Maybe if we fuse them together, we're going to have a catamaran battleship with 30 18-inch guns. Just weld the platform in place and see if you can work together. Württemberg should be in the clear for the torpedoes. Yep. Damage done 16. Damage taken 15-4. Sorry, 5-5. Not 15. I'm actually a little surprised at how poorly the Germans are doing. Akua is dead. That's the DD over there. Because when I saw all that firepower, I thought that I was going to have a big issue. But it looks like the AI... No, it's not my belt armor that's keeping me alive. And their accuracy is pretty good. Generation 1, improved radar rangefinder. Stereoscopic 4. These are not bad ships. I'm happy that I have ships as heavy as I do. With as much armor as I do. But what is this? 15-inch guns at a range of, let's say 12.5. Rounded down is always safer. 30-inch pen. Or rather, they can pen 30 inches of belt armor. I have 15.2. So yeah, they have a 50-50 chance of getting through. By the way, that is something that I see frequently in the comment section. What you see over here is 15.2 inches of belt armor. And then it says quality plus 110%. There's always a bit of discussion about whether you should read that as it adds another 15.2 inch plus another 10%. Or if it's just an armor equivalent. So whether I have, for example, 7-inch belt armor, but since it turns into 110%, I actually get 15. The devs say that if you get this 110% quality bonus, you can just add that 110% to the armor belt as you see it. So what's happening is that for the belt extended, I have 15-inch plus another 110% of 15-inch. So that is about... Let me draw up the calculator because I'm pretty poor at doing math and doing commentary in a foreign language and trying to keep track of the battle. So that's 15 times 2.18 is... sorry, not 1.8 times 2.1 is 30.5 inches of armor. That's the belt armor that I have. Württemberg taking quite a beating here. Stern of that ship's not looking happy. Now, with all that turret armor, I doubt that we're going to see too many flash fires. I don't think that that's going to happen. Let's see, you guys are operating a bit ahead of the other ships here. Ideally, I would just try to intercept, torp them, and then force them to slow down by flooding the Kaiser Wilhelm II. Torpedo range should be good. Yeah, 14.7. Range is 12.5. You may commence your torpedo attack when ready. Fubuki, 13.6. Same deal. Torpedo when ready. Whoa! Speaking of... Kiyanami sinks. That's another DD dead. Fubuki! Turn harder, girl. Otherwise, you're going to not have to turn ever again. Faster. Alright, back full to port. Hinoki. Aggressive on the torpedoes. Torpedoes away from Hinoki. Smoke up. Fubuki, aggressive launch. Target Kaiser Wilhelm II. Go, 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 go. I don't want to spend too much time focusing on these destroyers, but I'm not going to hand them off to the AI either. I don't trust the AI with my ships. By some miracle, the Mikaho is still alive. No! You can just maintain course and you will not run into that destroyer. Okay, torps away from Fubuki. Perfect. Time to disengage. Mikaho is not going to be moving anywhere quickly at a mere 6 knots. That's about the speed that she can still muster. Mutsu is also taking a pounding from quite a few of the guns. 15-inch. Actually, no, it's not that bad. 25 damage, 16, 24, 28, 37. It is not that bad. Württemberg, however, is doing pretty poorly. She's down to 6% structural integrity. And she has lost 2 engines and rudder control. Another ship, the Baden. Oh, don't tell me you're running off. That's one thing that could sort of force the situation into a draw. Because what these battleships can do is dictate when and where they fight. They have a speed of 26 knots. And I very much doubt that they still have any of these ships in the formation, considering how far they are apart. Which means that one of the ships, like the Baden, could be running away. Switch fire to the Baden. Because I doubt that the Württemberg is going to be running away anytime soon. And over here, the Kaiser Wilhelm has detected the enemy torpedoes. Not in time, though. Flooded. Oh, here are some of the torps. Fubuki seems to be flooding out. That's what you get for using minimum bulkheads. Württemberg is down to 3%. 2%. Come on. You might have some big ships over there, but... 0.1? Could somebody sneeze at this ship? That should be enough to sink it. Thank you. Okay. Who's next? I doubt that Mikaho is going to be very accurate. Westfalen doesn't seem to be too far away yet. Well, no, actually she is. 29.4. And 26 for that ship over there, for the Baden. Target the Westfalen. I really don't want that ship to leave. I mean, if the Germans are going to retreat, then so be it. But that means that the victory goes to the Japanese. My fleet. Do we still have any destroyers alive? Yes. Kaya. Although Kaya does not have any torpedoes left. She can still draw fire, though. Over here, I still have one of the DDs that I sent away after they launched the torpedoes. This is the Hinoki. And I still have... Oh. I may have forgotten about the group from the Yugamo. Good lord, how far away are you? You're 50... You're 57 clicks away from the battle. Oh no. Oh, Yugoda is even worse, isn't it? Where did you go? How far away did I send you? 49 clicks. Okay, my bad. I take responsibility for that. That was my mistake. Now, it looks like these Yamato and a halves are doing fantastic work against the German battleships. I do wonder if I can ram the Kaya into the Baden. The Baden does seem to start taking some interest in the Kaya. Yeah, I don't think my battleships need too much more attention. So I can focus a little bit on Kaya and her attempts to ram the Baden. Although, no, never mind. That's what happens if you have few bulkheads. That's what happens, and that's kind of what I deserved. Alright, Mutsu, can you do a bit of flooding damage or engine damage against Baden? No, that's just fires. Chance to pen? 70%. Why are the Germans running off? That's really not what I wanted them to do. Chance to pen, 50%. Chance to pen, 50% as well. This fleet is organized so that they can use all of their weapons. Well, Save for the smaller 4, 3, and 2-inch calibers, of course. Baden is now flooding. It's going to slow her down. But she's still capable of doing quite a bit of damage to the ship that's engaging her, the Mutsu. Mutsu has taken 2.8k of damage, done 3.4. Let's see how the rest is done. Fuso, done 3.5, taken 212. Mikasa, done 2.2 only. Taken 273. 6.7k for the Shoho. Maybe she butchered a few destroyers. That much damage? She butchered destroyers, definitely. And then we have the very heavily damaged Mikaha. 2,000 damage done. 2,400 damage taken. Not too bad. Baden down to 25% structural. There are still some destroyers about. But they're at 15 clicks. Which means that they're well outside of the range of the 4-inch guns. I can't hit those guys. Can definitely hit the Baden. And I still have plenty of 18-inch ammunition. Accuracy is good enough, about 20%, to always land at least one shot. Or at least that was seemingly what it comes down to. I'm now starting to take more and more and more damage with the Mutsu. Which in this case I don't mind. I'm using her as a bit of a turtle here, a bit of a tank. So the rest of the ships don't have to take too much more damage. I'd rather have one ship go down entirely in this situation, so the others don't have damage and stability. And by doing so, I'm hoping very much that they'll continuously do accurate salvos. Especially on those ships which are really far away. And that they'll sink these things faster. How are we doing against the Westphalen? Westphalen and Kaiser are both at 26. Kaiser appears to be coming back. And so is the Westphalen. Interesting. Now, where's that DD group that I sent off? They're still 40 kilometers out. And they still have a full complement of torpedoes as well. Oh well. I'd say the victory is going to go to the Japanese. Unless the Germans pull out some sort of miracle and start getting my ships, well, either detonating or flash firing, I'd say the victory is going to go to the Japanese. But the damage that these 18-inchers are putting out at this range, it's like we're only firing high explosive. Yeah, look at that. We're only firing high explosive. Can we switch to armor piercing, please? This, by the way, is something that I have not designed these ships around. I just realized. My battleships are pretty poorly armored for longer range conflicts. Because I thought that with the 5,000 meter starting range, I would be starting to get penned really quickly. So I put everything in the belt armor. That means that the deck armor is pretty easy to pen. Still, their deck armor can never hope to stand up to my amount of penetration. 9.9 inches of deck. So let's say rounded up to about 20 point something. Versus the penetration of 25 kilometers is 41 inches of deck armor. So yes, they are not really standing up to that. But all I'm getting is fires and partial pens and some over pens from their ships on the Mutsu. This is just a husk of a ship. This poor thing. Look at all the impacts. The entire ship is scarred for life. Although, in her case, I'm feared that her life won't last too much longer, since she has 0.4% structural integrity left. There she goes. Mitsu's down. But, credit where credit is due, she held for a long, long time. And We already sunk 2 of their battleships, whereas I only lost 1 of mine. And the Baden seems to be pretty quickly going down as well. Unfortunately, Makaho is severely damaged. She's still fighting. You know what? Let's turn starboard. And gun down the Baden. Because she's easier to sink and that takes more guns out of play. And meanwhile, let Div 4 rush in. Oh, sorry, Div 3. And Div 3 is the one with the 4 destroyers. Wow, you're focusing on the destroyer? Okay. Your call. Come on. How many torpedoes do these guys have left? The 7 and the 4. The torpedo range, 12.7. So they're not that likely to be able to get to me. 17. Hold up, the Baden launched her torps? Oh, she has a different set. 22 inch, ranging out to 15 kilometers. Right, gotcha. Chance to pen? 67.2%, low ricochet chance. Am I sufficiently turned? No, not quite. I'm only using the bow turrets. That's not good. Now the sterns are also coming into play. I have more firepower on the stern of these ships. So at the risk of taking more damage, I'm also capable of doing more damage myself. And my accuracy is far better than theirs. There she goes. Baden is dead. 2 battleships remain. Kaiser Wilhelm and Westphalen. And I think our next target, as the battleships already selected, should be the Westphalen. Because she is down to 38% structural and the Kaiser down to 75. Battle line 3. Those destroyers probably won't get here before the battle is done. The Hinoki is still shadowing the Westphalen. Yeah, that's about all I have left. Here come the torpedoes from the Baden. Those first couple of attempts by the Germans to design battleships were pretty poor, but these things can hold their own. They've taken 2.2 thousand points of damage. Kaiser 648. Kaiser's done a lot more. And the Baden? The Baden took 2.7 but did 4.3. I can respect that. That's a good amount of damage. She dished out more than she took. There we go. Now the Westphalen is starting to take some serious fire. Unfortunately, the fires are not taking hold on the ship, courtesy of maximum bulkheads. Couple of good hits, but the flooding just doesn't do much on these huge ships. Again, maximum bulkheads. That's a little better. A few more fires have been set. And some more. I could try sending an entire salvo of high explosive, but I kind of doubt that it's going to do much. Fuso is starting to take a bit more damage than I would like. I guess we're just going to have to wear these guys down. Which shouldn't take too long, considering I'm flinging 18-inch shells at them. Structural integrity is down to 17. Is the Westphalen going to try and overtake the Kaiser Wilhelm? These ships seem pretty close. Another fire, structural down to 15. They're almost here. The few destroyers that I sent off. And the Hinoki is in range. But at this angle, her torpedoes won't hit. Because the battleship that I want her to torpedo, the Kaiser Wilhelm, is heading away. So the chances of getting those ships hit are pretty poor. Oh, that's not good. What happened to you just now? 15 inch? Wow. The Westphalen has decided that the destroyer is the biggest threat. The destroyer. Not the battleships. Nope. The DD. Right there, the Hinoki. Unfortunately, she just did take a hit from a 15-inch. And she floated out really quickly. There goes the Westphalen. Well done, guys. Leaving just the Kaiser Wilhelm alive. But it seems like the other DDs are also attracting a lot of fire. The 15 and the 8s are going for my battleships. But the destroyers are getting attention from the 7-inch guns. Which should be about in range now, right? Oh yes. Yugamo just crossed into range. Kaiser Wilhelm now the focal point of 4 battleships. That's 60 barrels of 18-inch guns. Trying to level the Kaiser Wilhelm. And she's rapidly losing structural integrity. I'm surprised that these German destroyers didn't do more than they could have done. Because they could have been pretty annoying. But instead they're just, I don't know. They're circling around at about 14 clicks out, which is their torpedo range. Sorry, no, their torpedo range is 12.7. But it's just not... Nope. V6, V4, V7, they're not interested in a fight. Which, I mean, I kind of get. Considering the amount of secondaries that I have on these ships. Let's see if they did any respectable amounts of damage. This 4-inch, nothing. I think, if any, then the Mikaho. Yeah, 430, 775, 30 points. Mikaho did a lot of damage. Looks like it's about game over for the Kaiser Wilhelm here. Uh-oh. A couple of torpedoes in the water. Range 9.2. Ow. What are you firing at me with? The 8-inch guns have also joined the fight against the destroyers. I think there won't be a battleship by the time that the torpedoes get here. I could launch them. They travel at 48 knots. Look at that. Flooding, 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 flooding. Structural 6%. 5%. What I don't really get is why this felt like such a one-sided fight. Because these were good battleships. This is 20 barrels of 15-inch. That's not to be underestimated. A nice assortment of 8s, 7, a bunch of 3s, torpedo tubes, 18 inches of belt armor, 9.9 inches of belt extended, good amount of deck armor, lots of turret and conning tower armor, maximum bulkheads, good speed, Orcs 4, Shaft 1, Group 4 armor, maximum barbette armor, good torpedo belt, reinforced bulkheads 2. The only thing, anti-flood, could have been better. But then again, they didn't really take that much flooding. Increased ammo for the shells, super heavy shells, auto loaders. These things had almost everything going for them. But for some reason, they just didn't perform. And I cannot quite explain why. But what I can see is that the Kaiser Wilhelm II, the last battleship, slips beneath the waves. Leaving just a couple of the DDs alive. And, well, I'm not even going to try and catch a DD moving at almost 40 knots against a battleship that can only do 15 knots at best. So, I would say that world domination goes to the Japanese, as they have fairly and squarely sunk 5 German battleships, which were even heavier than they were. Hope you guys enjoyed the Battleship Brawl. If you have a good scenario for me to play, link in the description is where you can send that in. And if you want to play the game yourself, you can get it through the link down below in the description as well. I highly recommend the game. You can just build so many different ships with it. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon for more videos.